Alright, hear me out. Bishkek is a really cool city that deserves to be on your radar. First things first, what is a Bishkek? Odds are you have never heard of this city, the capital of Kyrgyzstan, which until recently is a country that you probably hadn't heard of either. However, visions of horseback adventures across the Central Asian steppe, high altitude treks up to treacherous mountain passes, yurts, eagles, and nomads have all likely graced your social media feed in recent years. Kyrgyzstan is now on the map, but many people view its capital as nothing more than a stopover city. It's the big capital city filled with suffocating traffic and ugly, brutalist architecture, and honestly, they're not wrong. But it's also filled with a surprising amount of charm, a unique character, and breathtaking natural beauty right at its doorstep. Kyrgyzstan is filled with these adventurous, off-the-beaten-path experiences, and I teamed up with SafetyWing for this video, my go-to travel insurance provider who has kept me covered across many years, many countries, and many misadventures as a full-time travel creator. Now, let's get you prepared to take on Bishkek and beyond. As the main travel hub and largest city of Kyrgyzstan, I spent quite a few days in Bishkek, and although it isn't the Kyrgyzstan that travel influencers typically show you, it is Kyrgyzstan nonetheless, and personally, I think it is awesome. Let's go check it out.
Alright y'all, we have made it to Kyrgyzstan here at the capital city of Bishkek. Finally dragged myself away from Almaty after almost a month in Kazakhstan, but now that I'm here, I am so stoked. Just hearing about all the things to do here in Kyrgyzstan, it's gonna be epic. I'm so excited, and yeah, we're on our first walk here in Bishkek right now, here at the Ala Square. Pretty bumpin' little area. I hear music, fountains here. Architecture is very different to anything I've seen before, very shiny and grandiose. Big statue there, and a large Kyrgyz flag to welcome me into the country. And yeah, let's get it. God, I just love monuments like this. It's so badass. Not sure who it is, I can't read that script, but I'm assuming Genghis Khan, Amir Temur, one of those fellas. Like, oof, that is such a sick statue. It's getting me so hyped for Kyrgyzstan because that is gonna be me soon, riding horses, eagles on my side, galloping through the Kyrgyz steppe. Whew. So cool. Welcoming you here to the National History Museum. I don't really have anything else planned for today, so, you know, probably not a bad way to get introduced to Kyrgyzstan, kind of learn a little bit about the culture, the history, the people, because I know I'm going to be seeing tons and tons of mountains, so it'd be cool to know what took place in those mountains, what battles and what cultures made their homes in the steppe, and whether yurts and nomadism is still alive and well today, which I think it is. Beautiful museum. Everything in Central Asia just feels so grandiose. Beautiful buildings. This one looks like it's made of marble. Lots of little flowers at the entrance. Stunning.
The State History Museum was a strong start. I don't really consider myself a museum person, but in a country like Kyrgyzstan where foreigners really don't know too much about anything, it is so useful, and it just hyped me up for what I was going to see and experience in the country. All the different weapons and musical instruments, nomadic artifacts, the textiles and fabrics, and the traditional dress and all of its patterns, just so different than anything I'd seen before. When you go into a country almost completely blind, everything ends up being kind of a happy little surprise. Like, what are Buddhist statues doing here? What is the history behind pretty much everything. One of the wildest things about Kyrgyzstan to me is how they didn't have a written history until relatively recently, which makes sense, they were a nomadic culture. But most of what we know about ancient Kyrgyzstan is actually thanks to other cultures that encountered them, mainly the Chinese. So that huge statue out front of Manas, for example, their national hero, nobody really knows much about him. Everyone knows his legend and his deeds, and one of the coolest aspects of Kyrgyz culture is the recitation of his epic, in which some people will perform for over 100 hours and even go into trances while doing so. But no one knows for certain what time period he lived, where he was born, where he is buried. Everything we know about him was passed on by word of mouth across centuries. There is so much fascinating stuff in this museum, which was also just a beautiful structure, by the way. In the summer, when Bishkek gets punishingly hot, this is a good midday activity to keep cool and get educated. Next up, we head to the famed Osh Bazaar, one of the oldest continuously operating markets in the entire world.
So I've got some errands to run, just got my SIM card. Now I need to find an ATM, a tailor, some clothes for hiking. Figured it'd be a one-stop shop to come here to the Osh Bazaar. Only thing is it is super busy on Sundays, so it is completely packed. I don't know if I'm gonna get a chance to find everything I need. I'm already kind of overwhelmed. These are so pretty. Like, I really dig these tribal looking patterns with the deer. They almost look like cave paintings in so many colors. And these are their traditional hats, which look really cool. Maybe I'll try one on. I bet I'd look sick riding a horse with this. Alright, now we're going to the actual Osh Bazaar. Wanted to scout the outskirts first to see if I could find cheap hiking clothes, like maybe some used shirts or pants, but now I need food. So here we are, walking into the likely chaos of the Osh Bazaar, one of the oldest operating markets in the world, dating back to the Silk Road and long before the Silk Road was ever a thing. So this has been operating in the same location for thousands of years now. You never know who might have wandered these same exact aisles looking for their dried apricots and nuts. Really cool souvenir box of We are in Kurut heaven here in Bishkek at the Osh Bazaar. There's tons and tons of kurut, which I might stock up on because I hear it's a good hiking snack. Look at all these apricots. Not sure what this is. Man, this bazaar is so big. It just goes on and on. Man, this bazaar is pure chaos. I'm loving it. Alright, wrapping things up at the bazaar. Honestly surprised that I managed to get most of what I needed done. Got my long sleeve hiking shirt, paid about $15, plus it doubles as a pretty nice shirt that I can wear in the evenings. Got some court hiking snacks. Found a tailor, and it only cost 50 som to sew up my shorts. And So those are practically brand new. Now I just need to find an ATM, some sunscreen, and then I think we're good to go for tomorrow. So yeah, really proud of myself because the Osh Bazaar is definitely one of the more chaotic places I've been, especially on a Sunday when it's at its busiest. It's kind of died down a bit now that it's the late afternoon. I'm imagining in the mornings it's a lot busier and a lot crazier. Now we are making our way out of the bazaar. Maybe pick up some more things. Could go for a huge piece of bread, honestly. Wow. That is some big bread.
The Osh Bazaar was an experience for sure. A lot of incredible finds here, and one could easily spend days and days looking through its many offerings. Vintage clothing hunters and professional thrifters would be in second-hand heaven. The Osh Bazaar is sensory overload at its finest, but also a surprisingly perfect place to get one's feet set in Kyrgyzstan. Now armed with a SIM card, local snacks, hiking essentials, and fresh Kyrgyz swag, I was ready to take on the mountains. And the best part, you don't even really have to go far from Bishkek to find yourself in the breathtaking natural beauty of Kyrgyzstan. The following day, I hopped on a local bus to Ala Archa National Park. Let's go for a hike, y'all.
Alright y'all, we have made it to the absolutely breathtaking Ala Archa National Park. Honestly, one of the smoothest national park experiences I've had so far, and I just got here. I took a bus from the center of Bishkek to the gates of the national park, and then from there you pay 200 som, about $2.50 for the entry ticket, and then there's a free electric bus that takes you up and down the road. There are no cars allowed past the gate, which makes for such a peaceful, much less chaotic experience. And all in all, it cost me 50 som to get to this trailhead, less than 75 cents. Like, I paid twice as much for this banana as I did for transportation to get to this national park. And right ahead of us we have beautiful snow-capped mountains. Last bus back to Bishkek is at 8 p.m. so have a good 10 hours to try and make it happen. Banana. Starting the hike. Hopefully this is the right way. I'm just following people, but it forked and some people are going one way, others going another, so inshallah we end up where we want to be. If not, we'll try again tomorrow at the cost of about $3 total, so no big deal either way. Ni modo. Alright, rough start. I hiked all the way up these switchbacks up a really big hill, only to find out that I was supposed to stay down there. So now we have to go back down and start all over again after already expending quite a bit of energy. So if y'all ever find yourselves hiking in Ala Archa and want to make it to the Aksai waterfall and glacier, this extremely well-concealed turnoff is the trail. Do not follow the thing that looks like an obvious trail, because why would you? No, go into the woods and follow this tiny trail instead.
Ala Archa was the perfect introduction to the rugged natural landscapes of Kyrgyzstan, but unexpectedly also one of those moments that makes you wonder what you've gotten yourself into. Someone warned me ahead of time that in Kyrgyzstan there are no trails, just vibes, and I got a good taste of what they meant during some stretches of what I imagined to be a fairly straightforward hike. I remember thinking to myself along the way, thank God I booked that SafetyWing plan. Travel insurance is pretty much a non-negotiable when you are adventuring across Kyrgyzstan and Central Asia, especially once you make your way to the even wilder and more rugged regions of this mountainous country. I mean, odds are, if you're coming to Kyrgyzstan, you aren't just coming to Bishkek. You'll be riding on horseback to hidden alpine lakes, or trekking across 4,000-meter high mountain passes, and driving on roads that aren't quite roads. And for as low as $2 a day, knowing that SafetyWing SafetyWing has your back across Kyrgyzstan and 170 other countries, that type of peace of mind is simply hard to put a price tag on. I was able to just enjoy all these stunning views and be fully present in the moment. Best of all, if you are watching this and you are already on the road, it is not too late to get a SafetyWing plan. There's no need to book ahead of time, so my fellow procrastinators, you are all good to go and get covered while you're already in uncharted territory. Booking through my affiliate link does help support the channel at no extra cost to you, so it is greatly appreciated. On top of heaps of other adventures and misadventures like travel delays, lost luggage, and hospital visits, SafetyWing's Essential Plan covers you up to 4,500 meters of altitude, whether you're trekking on 2 legs or horseback riding on 4 legs. All the essentials for Kyrgyzstan, even helicopter evacuations if things happen to really go south. Which thankfully they didn't, even with all the questionable trails that I had to traverse to reach what I expected to be an uneventful hike. That's the name of the game in Kyrgyzstan. Nothing is ever as easy or as straightforward as it looks on paper, but thankfully it also looks a lot better in real life than it does on paper, and when I finally reached the Aksai waterfalls, it was certainly a cause for celebration. Beautiful, beautiful spot.
Made it to the waterfall. Got my weird lunch thingy that I got from the mini market. Not sure what it is. It's like a bread stuffed with stuff. Oh, is that what's called stuff? Because you put stuff. Because you probably get what I'm saying. Heading back down now from the Aksai waterfall hike here in Ala Archa National Park. I made it to the waterfall, but honestly it was kind of okay. I think this spot right here, this is the absolute highlight, where you just see the river, the valley, and then a snow-capped peak right there in the distance, which I wish I could have gotten closer, but started later than I wanted and then got lost in the first stretch of the trail, and now it's kind of like I won't have any time to enjoy myself. I could probably sprint up to the Rutsek hut, which was another 2.5 hours from the waterfall, but decided to, save it for another day. I've got plenty of hiking to do in Kyrgyzstan, so there's no rush to push myself too hard right now, especially when I'm still a little bit sick. But today, overall, harder than I thought. Took me almost 3 hours instead of the 2.5 that I was told online. Again, I got lost, but a beautiful hike regardless. Let me shut up and stop showing my face and show y'all the views from Ala Archa National Park. Just look at that absolute monster up there. That is a dream. Really nice to just see so many families and kids out and about enjoying themselves out here in nature. What an excellent quality of life. Makes sense why the Kyrgyz people are so friendly now. I would be too if I lived here in the mountains. Excellent, excellent day. And here we are yet again at the little bus stop. There's the bus right now. It's too full. I kind of want to sit down, so I'm waiting for the next one. But yeah, completely free. Takes you from the entrance of the park to right here where a lot of the trailheads and beautiful areas are. It's almost like a little village. You've got markets, cafes, small parking lot. It's cute.
To have such a stunning natural getaway at your doorstep takes Bishkek to another level. And there is so much more to this national park than what I managed to squeeze into this day trip. If I were a local living here, I am sure that I could come here every weekend and discover a new trail or relaxing picnic spot along the river every single time. There are gorgeous landscapes all throughout. If you have more time to spend in Bishkek, then do not hesitate to come back here for more day hikes or even an overnight adventure up to Ratsek Hut, a refuge at the foot of the Aksai Glacier. Just before sunset, I started making my way back to Bishkek via the public bus, which was an event in itself, perhaps even more challenging than the actual hike. The Central Asian queuing system, or lack of, is always a joy to spectate, but not necessarily to be a part of. But regardless, I did indeed manage to wrestle my way onto the bus. Standing room only, of course, but my tired legs pushed through, and I was headed back to Bishkek to close out my brief but jam-packed stopover in Kyrgyzstan's capital city. The first stop upon getting back, of course, was my go-to restaurant for a heaping plate of lakhman, my favorite Central Asian dish, and the perfect meal after a hike to re-energize you. Unfortunately, I cannot say the same about the complimentary kumis that came with the meal, which is fermented mare's milk. It might be an acquired taste, I fear.
Celebratory post-hike shot of kumis. That's the stuff.
This was at Navet, a restaurant that you absolutely need to eat at while you are in Bishkek. It is beautiful and aesthetic, and it serves as a great and safe introduction to Central Asian food. Trust me, if you want to try something new, it is often better to do so at a reputable restaurant rather than fresh off of a street-side grill in the village, no matter how tempting it may be, and how often I myself fall into that temptation. Bishkek is actually pretty stacked when it comes to nicer restaurants and beer gardens, trendy cafes, quirky bars, and so much more. Traveler's Coffee near the center was a favorite of mine and a popular hangout among backpackers like the name suggests. I also enjoyed Bublik for food and coffee. For nightlife, the modern and trendy Obshestvo was my favorite bar. And of course, there was Craft Center, a beer garden overlooking Alatu Square, and this was just one of my favorite places to hang out every evening. Overall, I would say that Bishkek is a well-rounded city that serves as an excellent introduction to Kyrgyzstan and also a great home base for travelers looking to get their feet set at the start of a trip or relax a little bit at the end of a trip. It has such an interesting mix of European, Soviet, Turkish, Central Asian, and East Asian influence from its architecture to its cuisine and cultural heritage. Genuinely, there is so much to dive into in Bishkek. As you can see, while it may not be what travelers journey all the way to Central Asia for, it is more than capable of being a standalone travel destination in itself. A few last tidbits to help you get your feet set in the city. There are a lot of solid backpacker hostels in Bishkek, and the infrastructure only continues to improve. My first time in Bishkek, I stayed at Ololo Yurt Hostel, located in a quieter neighborhood, but it makes up for it with a very modern and sleek aesthetic, great Wi-Fi, great common areas, and it is perfect for digital nomads and remote workers. As I was wrapping up my Kyrgyzstan trip, I stayed in Bishkek for another couple of nights, and the second time I stayed at Izzy Hostel, which is closer to the action of the city. Both were great, and there are dozens more to choose from. You really cannot go wrong. To get around Bishkek, they have an extensive public transportation system, and you can easily find the current maps and routes online. I paid 50 som, or about 60 US cents, to get from the Kazakh border and to get to Ala Archa National Park, both of which are about an hour's drive, so anything within the city will cost a fraction of that. Yandex is the main ride-hailing app used in Central Asia, so be sure to download that before you go. Rides are pretty affordable to get pretty much anywhere in the city. When leaving Bishkek, there are various ways to get around the country, but for me, I opted to do it entirely on shared minivans known as marshrutkas, as well as the occasional shared taxi. Bishkek is the main hub for travel in the country, and you can reach pretty much any town with a direct route from Bishkek. The Avtovokzal terminal is the main hub for transport, and it lies just outside of the city, although with traffic that can take anywhere from 20 minutes to over an hour, depending on where you are staying in the city. Arriving at the transport hubs can be confusing and overwhelming, to say the least. Timetables, schedules, routes, even departure points, these are all suggestions here. There aren't many resources online, and it changes so frequently that even newer information can be completely unreliable. For most destinations, you likely won't be able to book most of your transportation ahead of time, and for a Type A traveler that likes to have tickets booked and plans arranged, Kyrgyzstan will quickly humble you and throw all of that out the window. But somehow, it works, and I would argue that it is actually better in many ways. If you need to get somewhere at any time of day, there will be a vehicle for you. Buses, private taxis, shared minibuses, aka marshrutkas, are the main forms of transportation here. For the most part, expect to show up at a bus terminal, which is typically just a larger parking lot, then hop in a privately owned car or van, and then wait for it to fill up. This could take an hour or longer, so time your travel days for the early mornings, when more people are on the move. As a foreigner, you will likely be charged more than the locals, which is annoying, but don't let it ruin your day. Just enjoy the beautiful scenery along the way. My first stop after Bishkek was the village of Kizart to embark on a horseback trek to Songkul Lake, and I was able to reach it with an early morning marshutka from the Avtovokzal station. However, like I said, from Bishkek, the country is yours to tackle, and your itinerary is a blank slate. If you'd like tips, you can check out my full Kyrgyzstan itinerary on my channel. This covers everywhere I visited during my month in Kyrgyzstan, from the country's top highlights like Alakul Lake and the Songkul Lake horseback trek, to hidden gems like Jetioguz and the Kelsu Lake. These stretches of raw, unfiltered adventure travel is where your SafetyWing travel insurance will truly shine. So again, don't forget to look into them before setting off on your grand adventure across this stunning Central Asian country. The link is in the description. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, feel free to drop a comment, and I will happily help you out on your own Kyrgyzstan adventures. That is all I've got for now. Thank you all so much for watching and following along for the ride. I hope this guide helps you make the most of your time in Bishkek. If you enjoyed the video or found it useful in any way, don't forget to toss over a like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel to see what else I get up to in Central Asia and beyond. I've been on the road now for 10 years across almost 100 countries, and the adventures just keep getting wilder and wilder. So stay tuned to see where my journey takes me next. Appreciate you all. See you guys on the next video.